It's already been a year since our ranking of BL series of 2020. In this time, another set of BL series will be ranked accordingly based on my preferences and what made my 2021 more exciting. This video is actually the hardest for me to make since I have to consider a lot of BL series that I have watched for the whole year and give opinions as objective as possible. Before we start, the BL series that are included on this list are the BLs that I have seen and were aired more than 75% of its total episodes on 2021. If you have your own set of ranking, feel free to share it with us on the comment section below. Anyway, if you live in a different country and some BL series are not available to yours, you can use ExpressVPN to watch those restricted series. Use the link on the description below to have 49% discount and 3 months free if you opt to avail the 12-month plan. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Before we start on our official ranking, here are some of my honorable mentions that are also worth watching on 2021 although did not make it to the cut. First, Manner of Death. It's actually a pretty good BL series with a unique storyline. Manner of Death could have gone on my top 10 if it wasn't for the mechanics of the ranking. The comeback BL of Max and Tool was far from what they gave us on their last projects back in 2017 and 2018. Although Manner of Death did not follow the book entirely, it was still a masterpiece just like the novel, and both of them are so much enjoyable to read and watch. Next, Color Rush. Korean BLs are really trying to give us unique plots and stories, but sometimes it could not meet my expectations. The story of Color Rush about Mono and Probe is actually a good one, but the execution was not that great, to be honest. The plot could have expanded further, but with a limiting number of runtime and episodes, it was impossible. This was actually one of my favorites mainly due to its plot, but it left me unsatisfied until the ending. Third, Fish Upon the Sky. I actually don't have so much to say about this BL since it's pretty much a romantic comedy series and its plot was just light overall. I did enjoy Fish Upon the Sky and it gave me a lot of laughter when I was watching it, but I think the plot was going on circles. Fourth, You Make Me Dance. There are quite a lot of Korean BLs this year, but You Make Me Dance is one of those which stand out from the rest. Although it did not make it to the top 10, it's actually a recommendable series. The downside of this series is the short runtime and lesser number of episodes compared to the other BLs listed on the ranking. Last, Beloved in House I Do. Since this BL revolved around the story of working adults, it actually got my attention. At first I found it quite enjoyable to watch, but it got less and less interesting towards the middle of the series. Just like Fish Upon the Sky, I think the plot was just going around circles and it made an impact on the development of the story. When it was aired, I actually did not watch it immediately until I have read some comments about how good and funny this BL is. Last year, one of my favorite BL series was Cherry Magic, and it's because of the uniqueness of its plot and the chemistry of the characters. This time around, Absolute BL gave me one of my happiest time to watch a BL, and it certainly hit a mark. Although the series wasn't showcasing a romantic plot for the main lead, it managed to deliver the message of its story with only having 4 episodes. The ending left us with a cliffhanger, and I think it was not enough to really end the series. That's why it only landed on my 10th spot. Nevertheless, Absolute BL was absolutely hilarious. Korean BLs always have this annoying short runtime and episodes, and it's really frustrating as a watcher. But My Star was a well-developed series just like any other full-blown BLs on this list. Surely, the short runtime might have an effect to fully enjoy a show, but personally, I don't find it lacking at all. The conflict between the main leads was established good enough, and the conclusion was also present right at the end. Although My Star only ranked 9th on my list, it's still the second best Korean BL series for 2021. Since some of the BL series listed on this ranking have only less than 30 minutes per episode, it's quite natural to think that an hour per episode would be a stretch and boring. Thankfully, Lovely Writer has a lot of substance on its content, and I think the chemistry of the main leads is pretty strong too. Some would say that the middle part got boring in terms of its story, but it's only due to preferences. The reason why Lovely Writer is on the 8th spot and not a higher ranking is due to its pacing and mainly the later episodes. Sometimes I felt that the pacing was slow, so it gave an impression that some scenes were boring. I also think that the ending was anticlimactic due to not opening up about their relationship publicly, but I guess it was made to have a more realistic approach. Overall, Lovely Writer is good BL for 2021 and it's a must watch. I Told Sunset About You gave me a roller coaster emotions when I watched it last year, and it's the same thing for I Promised You the Moon. Although I Promised You the Moon did not get the top 1 for this year like its prequel from last year, it still managed to deliver in terms of cinematography and acting. The only downside that I saw in this one was the cheating part on its plot, and it was devastating to see. I Promised You the Moon could have gone better if we got a bittersweet ending on its finale episode in order to give a message that cheating isn't good and will not do good for couples. On the other hand, I could also see the point that Tae had a character development towards the ending and reflected on what he did wrong from the past. Anyway, I Promised You the Moon is still a good watch if you can handle all types of drama. I actually just binge watched this BL later this month after its airing, and I was easily hooked on its story. To be honest, I find the plot of this BL quite weird, not in a bad way, but it was unique and easily understood. The story of My Beautiful Man shifted from obsession to a love story, with a touch of misunderstanding on the plot. That might sound bad for its definition, but it's actually more like of a development to the overall story. The reason why it's only on the 6th spot is because I was waiting for Kilyoi's in-depth background on its character. Although there was an explanation why he has that kind of character in the later episodes, it made me confused on his sudden character development on the finale episode. It wasn't bad, but it only lacked some explanation. All in all, My Beautiful Man gave a unique love story in a Japanese BL. I was actually debating with myself whether to put this on the 4th or 5th spot, but I guess this rank would fit this series better. The first few episodes were actually good and interesting, and that made me binge watch the whole season in one sitting. Although the middle and the last part were not as strong as the first part of the series, the essence and the main plot was still present throughout the whole show. My love mix-up actually reminded me of Cherry Magic without its fantasy part, and it really gave me a wonderful experience on watching it. The main reason why it only landed on the 5th spot is probably due to the lack of build-up on its plot. The energy and excitement that I felt episode to episode were the same and equal. This Japanese BL could have done better if it has a better dynamics on its plot, but overall, it's a pretty good BL series. The Enemies to Lovers has always been one of my favorites in a BL, and We Best Love is the exact definition of that. It's not hard to like Enemies to Lovers stories, but to stand out among them is a different story. Most of the times, there are unnecessary dramas that are being incorporated in the plot just to make it different, but We Best Love is a straight to the point drama. It did not need any colorful plot twist. The story, acting, and chemistry of the main characters are the selling point of this BL, and it's easy to recognize these things. The only edge of We Best Love over My Love Mix-Up is the dynamics of its characters and stories. The episodes gave me different level of excitement, and that's a good characteristic of a good show. Just like last year, The top 3 of my ranking are my most favorite BL series of the year, but I still need to rank them accordingly. A Tale of Thousand Stars gave us a heartwarming and lovely drama, and I still remember the beautiful things that happened on this series. The beautiful story of Tian and Poopa made me realize that it's easy to fall in love, but it's hard to commit your heart for life. Although this series wasn't perfect, the scenes were carefully thought and were produced in high quality. I still believe that A Tale of Thousand Stars is a masterpiece on its own and will down on history as one of the best Thai BLs ever made. The constant drama of this BL might be a little off for some people, but I also think that it's one of its strengths and highlights. Bad Buddy isn't finished airing yet, but I already considered this as one of the best BL series of 2021. The only reason why I'm putting this BL series on the second spot is due to the remaining 3 episodes. Since the climax of the story would be mostly on the finale, Bad Buddy could either have a satisfying or anticlimactic ending. Another reason, the conflicts on Bad Buddy are actually easily resolved on an episode and that drive out the drama of the story. It's not a bad thing, to be honest, since we could see a lot of happy and cute moments of the main characters. Another thing, the chemistry of Om and Nanan is simply the best for this year. Their chemistry is already enough to put them on the top on this ranking. I was actually wondering why am I putting this BL on my top pick for 2021, but here we are. The very first main reason why I decided to put Light on Me as my top 1 is because of how enjoyable it was for me. I have always wanting to have a Korean BL that is done right in terms of script, cinematography, plot, and music score. Light on Me gave everything that I wanted from it, and it exceeded my expectation for it. Unlike last year where I based my top 1 on its technicalities, this time around it's purely based on the emotional value of the show. It does not mean that both Bad Buddy and A Tale of Thousand Stars lacked that thing, but it's Light on Me that truly gave me the highest satisfaction. This BL might only have a light story compared to some on this list, but it was done beautifully. And those are the BLs that I really enjoyed for 2021. Share your ranking in the comments section below. What are the BLs you look forward the most in 2022? Thank you for joining me for this ranking of BL series. See you again next year. Have a prosperous new year, everyone.